We're well and truly into the off-season for the Collingwood Football Club, and I just want to look at the year back in review for certain players and look at how they performed relative to last year and what they need to do next year, and of course tackle what happened in the year 2024. And we're going to start with Norm Smith himself, Bobby Hill, for the very first player review of this series. What do we know about Bobby Hill, guys? I know you guys know, but for those who aren't quite familiar about who he is and what he's about, he was initially drafted by GWS in 2018 for pick 24 and was subsequently traded to Collingwood for 2 late second rounders at the back end of 2022. So having overcome a bout of testicular cancer, and what a battle within that self it would have been for Bobby, nothing on the field could have possibly phased him in 2023, and that was very much the case. Mr. Norm Smith, career high 4 goals in that game against Brisbane, and one of the greatest marks you'll see in a grand final. So he finds himself sitting at 88 games in his current career, kicking 97 goals, which is above a goal a game, which is just fine for a general forward. I'm going to use the term general forward for the small to medium forwards now. It doesn't roll off the tongue as well as general forward, so we're going to go with that term, and that seems to be the widely accepted term when talking about these types of players in the forward line. Hey guys, just quickly, Pies Footy will be a part of the massive Fancast event on Grand Final Eve, and we will be a part of the cast that consists of Brodie Holland, Old Dutchy, Anthony Koutafidis, Simon Black, Chocs Chat and Instagram. Really funny guy. If you haven't seen him, you should check him out on Instagram. There's going to be a really entertaining crew, heaps of laughs, plenty of food, drinks, and it'll be a front bar type of environment. So if you want to come say g'day to the Pies Footy family and see the likes of Brodie Holland talk and legends like Koutafidis and Simon Black and so on and so forth, come down. I'll share the link in the description, and be sure to mention Pies Footy if you decide to purchase a ticket, and hit me up if you're coming and we can touch base and hopefully have a beer together and a nice meal. 2024 for Bobby Hill. Was it a pass? Yes, definitely. But what we're going to do more specifically in this series, we're going to look at the statistics. So we're going to become nerds and go back to the days of Pies Footy where we get really analytical and talk about the numbers and try and translate that into the old eye test and try and articulate it in that sense. Bobby Hill is a great mark inside 50. He's great overhead, can sit on people's shoulders, and that definitely reflects in his stats, averaging 1.6 marks inside 50, which finds him 5th amongst the general forwards in 2024. And when we look at players that are amongst that caliber in the league for, I guess, the general forwards, which gives you a better idea of who he's competing with. We're looking at players like Jake Stringer, who was number 1, another Collingwood player who I won't disclose because he will also be in this series, and then Ben Long, Jack Higgins, and then Tom Papley is right below Bobby Hill. So some really, I guess, difficult opposition to be matching up against and competing with, and he's right there. And that is something Collingwood value very highly in the general forward department. When it comes to these marks inside 50, we're quite versatile. We might be smaller, we might be more medium sized, but these players are more than capable of taking really strong marks, and whether it's getting out the back from a transition goal or if it's just a lead up into a great kick from Mr. Scott Pendlebury or Nick Dacos himself, or as you've seen with Jamie Elliott and Bobby Hill. I may have spilled the beans there, but Bobby Hill able to take marks on people's shoulders goes a long way, which gives us a lot of diversity when we are looking inside 50. And while the kick going inside 50 is important, it's just as important to have players who can do many different things in many different ways to ensure that we can take marks. If you've seen the preseason video I did on Bobby Hill, we looked at his goal assist ability last year, averaging half a goal assist a game. I just thought, particularly watching his game in the grand final at his very best, and then watching him in the off-season / pre-season, I was saying to myself, this guy can do more with the ball and can definitely increase his goal assist output and become a bit of a magician, which has become very true in this year. I guess the stats will point to the fact that he averages a goal assist per game in 2024, which is top 10 in the league. So he's effectively doubled that stat within the space of 12 months. And that can only mean he's been given more rite of passage to be more articulate with what he does with the ball, and has led to doubling that stat in 2024. So that's a huge I guess, tick next to his name when it comes to the goal assist realm. And if we look at other players who are really prominent in that domain, you've got Brent Daniels, who is probably the #1 general forward in the league for GWS, a goal and a half per game, and Toby Green's amongst there as well. So he's amongst some premier names. Isaac Rankin, Brian Myers is always a great goal assist producer. So again, he's in the right conversations to be considered an elite general forward in the, I guess, the world we live in when it comes to AFL right now. I have updated the membership subscription perks. I am now introducing early access to a lot of the videos that I will be releasing throughout the course of the season, off-season, pre-season, as well as member-only live streams. So that will not include the Pie Performers, Moving the Magnets, and post-game shows. I want to keep them away from a paywall, but it'll just be more of a just chatting, maybe playing console, or I'll even get you guys watching me edit some of the videos that I'm making so you guys can see some of the behind the scenes access of what goes on or goes behind or what goes into producing these videos. So if you guys want to support the channel, it costs $5 a month for those perks as mentioned. And yeah, let's get back to the video. Goals wise, Bobby Hill, 30 goals in 2024, 3 goals less than what he returned in 2023. This time, Collingwood don't play finals, so that's probably the easy argument. Well, we didn't play as many games. True, but what Bobby Hill did have more of in 2024 was behinds, and it was by a long way. He doubled his behind tally in 2024 from 14 behinds to 28 behinds. We really praised his accuracy in front of goal last year, averaging around that 60% goal accuracy mark, and that's dropped all the way down to the 40 percentile. So it's not an ideal return, and it all probably comes back to this conversation with his efficiency and decision making. We'll get there in just a moment. Just hold that thought. As far as the best return he got in 2024 for goals scored was in that North Melbourne game where we really needed players to drive the troops and get them going and get that comeback and bring that to fruition, which it did end up transpiring. And Bobby Hill was a big part of that amazing, hopefully, goal of the year, or at least Jamie Elliott's. And then 5 goals to go with that is a career high, besting his previous record, which was 4 goals against Brisbane in that grand final. Back to the point about his efficiencies and decision making. And I'm going to tie it in with the disposals conversation. He averaged 11.1 disposals, which was up from 10.3 last season. And that's, again, just giving Bobby Hill the keys and say, mate, come play high up the ground, get involved, get on the wing and be a part of this sequence where we get you in more scoring involvements and chains as such. The issue is his kicking efficiency this year was his lowest in his career, 63% kicking efficiency. And I remember going back to the pre-season after one of the intra-club matches where David King tweeted, "Too much Hollywood in this intra-club game for Collingwood." He referred to Ash Johnson and Bobby Hill. And when I first seen that, I was sort of just like, come on, turn it up, King. You're a traditionalist, like this is just the new wave. And then fast forward 9 months and I go, hold on a minute. Kingy was kind of right. He was right. He was, because we saw too much Hollywood from Bobby Hill. But certainly, yes, Bobby Hill tried to sell far too much candy this year, and players from the opposition caught onto it. And when you're trying to sell 1 player, 2 players, 3 players in a row, by the time you get to the point where you need to kick the ball, you're already flustered with all the things you did that preceded that moment. And sometimes rather than evading pressure, you're bringing more pressure on because of how aware players are around him to not fall for his selling candy antics. And when he gets to the point where he needs to kick the ball, he's still under pressure and ends up shanking it. The other stat that was quite glaring for me when looking through some of, I guess, Bobby Hill's tendencies was the fact that every 4 disposals Bobby Hill had it this year, he would average or return a clanger. And that would rank for 8th amongst general forwards. And that's not something you want to have tied to your name as an elite forward. So going into the off season, I don't think Bobby Hill came into the year complacent. I think he just wanted to do more, and trying to do more is not the best way to approach things. You can try too hard sometimes, and it really backfired on him in those instances when he was just trying to do too much and go for goal of the year or take on the whole team. So more is less for Bobby Hill in 2025, but if he can get that right, it's just going to be another positive step moving forward for Bobby. He's only 24 years old, so he's in a really good age bracket, and it's scary that I can still see Bobby Hill getting even better and reaching the heights of players like Brent Daniels and, God, I don't want to say it, but maybe Toby Green in a few years' time. I really think the sky is that high for Bobby Hill. And can we see some centre bounce attendances for Bobby Hill next year? Even if it's just at the start of each quarter, sort of like a Cozzy Pickett idea, and roll into the forward line straight after that centre bounce, particularly when he is not getting involved in the game. Throw in your best players on ball and see how it goes. We know he's speedy, he's evasive. If he gets that ball out the front of the contest in a centre bounce stoppage, he's not getting caught and will get some easy goals or easy kicks going inside 50. Yes, he's not as powerful or as strong as other midfielders, but to have him at one centre bounce once per quarter, I can't see that hurting Collingwood, and rather doing better things than worse for Collingwood in the long run. So that is the 2024 review in its essence for Bobby Hill. Let me know what you guys thought about Bobby Hill's season in 2024. What does he need to do better in 2025? And did he approach the season in the right manner? Go Pies.